Well, hello there, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and just thought I'd shoot a quick video and show some of the LPs I've picked up recently from a variety of sources. For the first time in months and months, I made it to an actual brick and mortar record store and got a few records there. I've bought records from fellow collectors that I know online, and I got one or two from Bandcamp, and I did two record shows. I worked two record shows in recent weeks, and I almost always pick up a few records from the other people selling at the record shows. I did not at the first one. At the second record show, the big Greg Neal record show, I ended up picking up a few records at bargain prices for the most part, and I'll share those with you. So first, a new record I got from Bandcamp, not an expensive record. I think it was $24 by the time everything was said and done, 36 or so, because it had to come over from Africa to a holding place in New York, and then from New York sent to me. But it's this album right here, Kawato Alago Iuka is the name of the album. The artist is Iuka Morris Sikita, and this is a folk artist. He is playing an instrument called the Lukeme, Lukeme, or sometimes referred to as a thumb piano. And there's look at it there, a little painting, I believe. Yeah, that's a painting, not a photo. Taken from a photo, obviously, though. And this is a musician that has been around for a long time. Had never recorded anything. Had played on the radio, for instance, and they had been preserved and stuff. But as far as releasing albums or anything, he had not until now. Somebody had done a compilation of stuff he had done from the late 70s to the early 2000s and released that, and he heard himself there, brought back a lot of memories of playing with a lot of different people, playing publicly and playing on the radio and things like that. And so he went into the studio and recorded this album. So I'm really looking forward to this. Introduced to me by a member of the vinyl community, Stunty, on doing his live stream. He played something from this, and it inspired me to pick it up. It's one of those, it's limited in vinyl form, limited to 200 in that pressing. But you can go to Bandcamp and get it digitally once the vinyl is sold out, if it does sell out. It's not numbered, so I don't know where in the 200 that particular one came. But from a fellow record collector I connected with online, I got three records from him. This is music on vinyl, Elvis Costello and Bill Frisella, and this is Deep Dead Blue, live, 25th of June, 1995, and there they are. The only other Frisella I have is work he's done with Lucinda Williams. I've been trying to get some of his jazz recordings, but almost everything is just CD, and I haven't come across anything on vinyl. I saw this, so I jumped on the opportunity to get this. And that, like I say, it's a music on vinyl, limited to 2,000 individually numbered copies, translucent blue colored vinyl. I'm not going to show you the vinyl. It's got one of those tape down outer sleeves, and this is number 346, it says here on that. Got two other records from him, REM's Accelerate. I think this is the last studio album that they did, minus one member. I think three of the four members were involved in that one. And the 2016 pressing of The Wall. I actually got this already, but he was asking such a good price for it. I got it. So I've got two copies of the same pressing of the wall. So what will I do with them? I'll sell one of them to somebody. Uh, and so I also at the record show, at the Greg Neal show in Raleigh that I did in I think the 12th of October, whatever Sunday was, the second week in October. Uh, I didn't. I sold there and did very well. I was very fortunate to be very successful selling there. Uh, but one of the keys when you are selling at a record show is you don't need to end up buying more records than you sell, or spending more money buying than you do make selling. It kind of defeats the purpose. Uh, Part of it is culling through or your collection. Taking out some so that you can put more in, that sort of thing, or reducing the size of the collection, or just generally, when you've got duplicate copies, like I'm going to have of the wall, that sort of thing, going through those. Before the show, one of the sellers had a couple of boxes that were $2 records at the bottom on the floor. So, when you look at $2 records, they're going to be one of two things. One is they're kind of scratched up. They're not in good shape. Okay, so you're going to get clicks or pops, maybe even skips. So you want to avoid those. No reason to complicate your life with one of those, unless it's some record you just haven't. You've been looking for forever. It'll be a holding copy if you need to. And the second type of record at $2 is records that somebody has just had for sale for a long time and they just don't move for them. And different sellers, different people go to different sellers expecting to see and looking for certain things. So if your specialty is heavy metal, then a Leon Redbone or a Rycuda record is probably not going to sell very quickly if you've got it out there for sale. So I ended up getting 6 records from this guy, so $12, and 3 of them were Rycuda records in excellent condition. But I could just see, those records just they sat there, and so he just wants to make space to bring something in that will sell more quickly. But my collection and what I sell is geared more toward that sort of stuff. So I buy them from him for $2, and I'll clean them up, put them in new inners and outers, and put them out, and I can sell them for $6 or $8 maybe. So pick up a few like that. So 5 of the 6 I got were with that in mind, but one that I will keep, and Sweet Emma Barrett and her New Orleans music. Now, obviously, that speaks for itself. It's New Orleans jazz. She plays, obviously, the piano. And, it's a traditional jazz album with trumpet, trombone, clarinet, piano, banjo, bass, and drums. And I've got one album by her already, and I really like it. And I love this period type of music. So this is one that'll be a keeper for me. Then another guy behind me selling, who I know somewhat, at the end of the day, I went through some of his. He had some real high dollar stuff, some great box sets for major rock acts and things like that. But he also had some records he had there for $5 and things like that. And I got a DBs from him, and I got a Van Morrison that's probably not in the best shape in the world, but maybe it's okay. I took a chance on it. And this record, they were all marked $5, but it was the end of the day, and we were friends, so he sold it to me. He said, just give me 10 for them. So basically, I got them for $3.33 a piece. This is what, you don't know you want it until you see it, and there it is. Second album on chess from Billy Stewart, Unbelievable. And Billy Stewart tragically died, I think in 71 maybe. Soul singer. And he's popular in this area because some of his songs were used with the beach music. Shag dancers enjoyed dancing to some of his stuff. And so I picked this up, I think it's from about 65 or 66, somewhere in there. Billy Stewart. Tragically, his health wasn't good. He may have had a diabetic reaction, low blood sugar or something caused him to pass out at the wheel. But he died just not too far from right where I am. Crossing the Neuse River. I used to think, and people had reported he was driving on Interstate 95, going to a show in South Carolina. He was based out of D.C. and driving down 95 South Carolina. But actually, Interstate 95 stopped around Rocky Mount, North Carolina. It hadn't been completed that far south yet. And so he was probably on Highway 301 and crossing the Neuse, about to cross the Neuse River when he ran off the road and hit the bridge pillar embankment, and he and the passengers, fellow band members, were all killed tragically there. So there's a morbid story to tell you to bring everybody down. But I'm pleased to get that Billy Stewart album. The only high dollar record I purchased that day was, and it wasn't extremely high, but there was a couple beside me selling, and they were selling her father's jazz records, not represses, not reissues. These were records bought at the time they came out. Lots of jazz, some really good stuff, and they had hundreds of them. And they were expensive. They had marked very expensive, but they were negotiable. And I ended up buying this Bud Powell. He had it marked near mint, $25. And so the return of Bud Powell is first new recording since 1958. This is after he returned from France, after living in France for many years. He returned and he did this recording on Roulette, the mob-owned record label. They had a Birdland series, and this is from that. They wanted $25 for it. I said, what's your best price? Folks, when you go to record shows, never hurts to ask. Most people selling at record shows are willing to come off, especially if you buy a more expensive record or if you buy a bunch of records. Okay? And he said, I can do 20. And I could have tried to get him down a little more, but he was a nice guy, and we had developed somewhat of a friendship, sitting beside each other talking during the sale. So I took it at 20, got home, and it's not too high over. On Discogs, I could have got it for $12 or $14, but then you still got to pay shipping and you got to pay tax. So 20 is probably about right. But looking forward to cleaning that one up and listening to that one. From a seller online, a record collector online, Dave Van Rock. This is just Dave on Mercury, the folk singer from that's well known in the Greenwich Village, New York folk scene. Looking forward to that. He was the guy I think that they thought was going to break big in the folk music scene, and then Dylan arrived, and it was obvious to everybody that Dylan had that special something extra. Although I don't think it was realized what a songwriter he would become. Maybe they could see the potential there. But Van Rock had done okay. And from that same guy, I got two records. I got that one, and I got this Keith Whitley and Ricky Skaggs album, which is on Rebel, if you're familiar with Rebel label. And it's actually, when they were in their late teens, mid to late teens, 16, 17, 18 years old, they were in Ralph Stanley's band. And so it's actually a Ralph Stanley album reissued as second generation bluegrass, Keith Whitley, Ricky Skaggs. But it was recorded in 1971, and Whitley, of course, on guitar and vocals. He would go on to become a big country star before his tragic, untimely death. And Ricky Skaggs has achieved tremendous success since then on the mandolin, fiddle, and vocals. Ralph Stanley's playing the banjo. Roy Lee Sinners, a member of Ralph Stanley's band, is on the guitar. Excellent singer. Once again, somebody that died tragically under bad circumstances, way too young. And Curly Ray Klein is on the fiddle, longtime fiddler with Ralph Stanley, and Jack Cook is playing the bass. So this Rebel reissued this. after Keith Whitley and Ricky Skaggs were having a lot of success, they reissued it as one of their records rather than a Ralph Stanley record. And I have the first two records and didn't even realize there was a third record from Summer Wages, bluegrass band, and got this sealed. All the this record that I got sealed, I got at a brick and mortar store. Adam Kurt, who has Record Crate on St. Mary Street in Raleigh, little basement record shop around the side of St. Mary Street. His Americana selection was very nice. I got this sealed, and it features Jim Mills. Sadly, not tragically, but sadly, Jim Mills passed away earlier this year. Great banjo player, and he was an expert in pre-war stringed instruments, especially the master tone banjos, but others. And he got off the road in recent years. He lived in Raleigh. I was at a record shop in Raleigh, at Record Crate. He got off the road in the last few years and specialized in high-end vintage instruments. And that's him right there. He's 6-time Grammy winner, 5 or 6-time Banjo Player of the Year for International Bluegrass Music Association, IBMA, and the rest of these members were members all the way through the Summer Wages era, which was in the early to mid 80s. And then also in that, now what happened was Adam had picked up a collection from the estate of Jerry Gray. Jerry Gray was a long-time, drive-time bluegrass DJ at WAMU-FM out of Washington, D.C. That's American University radio station. He was a drive-time DJ. And I'd already gotten some of those Jerry Gray records from Adam before, but he had these out, and I ended up purchasing them. A Rounder 1010, Ed Haley, and he's a blind fiddler, never recorded professionally. These are 1946 recordings that his family made of him playing some of his favorite fiddle tunes. He was a Kentucky fiddler, and Rounder got hold to them, and they allowed Rounder to press them into vinyl records. And let's see what else. I got most of the Dillards, but I did not have this Dillards album, Tribute to the American Duck. And this is just Rodney, not Doug. And most of the other members of the Dillards that we know best. John Hartford plays on this, and different people. Again, this is from the Jerry Gray record collection. And one of the great bands, the Delmore Brothers, I highly recommend you check out if you're not familiar with the Delmore Brothers. They were extremely important brother act, and they were a precursor to rockabilly. They used a lot of boogie woogie in their recordings, their old time recordings, and a lot of blues, and so they're kind of a precursor to the rockabilly music that would come just a little later. And then I love local bluegrass bands, not the big names that put out albums. They would press albums back in the 70s and 80s and 60s. They would press albums to sell at their shows, at their merch table and things like this. Jack Fingham and the Dixie Grass, deep in the heart of bluegrass. I read a little bit about him, and he's got, his pedigree is very strong. He's played with some important people, and went out on his own after a while to record and tour. And finally, and those all came from the Record Crate in Raleigh. Nice, the $15 for the sealed Summer Wages. The others were somewhere between $3 and $9 each. So not I think 6 records for $45 is what it ended up being. Also, always interested in finding these self-pressed, self-released albums from various youth groups, church youth groups from back in the 70s. There was a movement of young people that would either from a specific church or from the community gathering together and creating choirs that would travel around and play at various churches as guests there, at revivals, at festivities, community festivities, and things like that. And it's an important little cultural aspect of America in the 1970s, and especially around where I'm from. And I was at church Sunday. I'm not a heathen, too bad. So I showed up at church Sunday, and after the service, I was downstairs, and they had some stuff in boxes and things they were trying to get rid of at yard sales and stuff, cleaning out closets and rooms and stuff at the church. And there was a box of records, so of course I had to dig in, and I found this. And this is the Oak Street Youth Singers. Oak Street Youth Sings is the name of the album. And there they are in all their 1970s outfits, with the azalea trees and the pine trees and the azalea bushes. Beautiful eastern North Carolina. This is from Oak Street Pentecostal Holiness Church in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And probably, I'm guessing 1976, not 77, somewhere in there, maybe even a little earlier, 72 or 3 possibly. And they record an album from their youth, and the youth group dedicates the album to these two ladies that have sponsored and taken care of them in church there. And so I love this stuff. Can't wait to get it cleaned and get it playing. Look, let's see if you can let's see. These are my contemporaries. Anybody knows anybody that went to Oak Street Pentecostal Holiness Church that might have been in this group? I'd love, somebody from Goldsboro, say something to them. Tell them to look at the video, see if they see anybody they know in there. Love that stuff. Anyway, little piece of history there. I love history. Anyway, folks, we're going through some really tense and stressful times here in the United States. I'm filming this in late October 2024. And folks, you don't forget that we're all neighbors and that we should show love towards one another and not let the stressful times and the anger and opinions get in the way of love. Folks, okay? We're all neighbors. Remember that. Be kind to your neighbors. Take care. See you later.